Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. Today's upload is going to be my long range outlook for the next couple of weeks, for next couple of days. We're going to be discussing temperature, precip, and a couple other factors that will go into making your weather making your day into a nice day or a bad day in terms of weather. So hopefully you will enjoy this video, but before we get further into this video, I would like to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel. And you may be wondering, why do you want to subscribe? Why am I asking you to subscribe before you haven't even watched the video? Well, you could check out my channel, you could watch this whole video, and then you could keep it in the back of your mind, and whether you like this channel or not, you could subscribe. I'm letting you know that your subscription means a ton to me, and it helps my channel grow. Every subscriber counts a lot, so I would really appreciate it. And again, I'm not forcing you guys, obviously you don't have to. It's just something, if you want to help me out, you can definitely do so. You could also consider liking the video, but same rule applies to that. I'm not forcing you guys to do that. Another little thing I want to say is, if you noticed, I made a lot of videos on my channel titled like when to expect your first snowfall. I think who will see a rainy fall, videos like that. If you would like to know something about this upcoming fall or winter, let's say. Like another example of this will fall start early? I'll be making a video on that. Just give me video ideas, what you would like to know about this upcoming fall and winter in terms of weather, and I'll take the best ideas and try answering them. Try not to make them too specific. Try making them more broad and general for much of the public. Let's get further into this video. Sorry about that talk. I really should have gotten straighter to the point. I know people sometimes don't like that, but I needed to get the first things out of the way. So now let's look at the temperature. So this is these are 2-meter temp anomalies in Celsius. Where you see the blue, that's where cooler than average temperatures are, and where the red is, that is above average temperatures. And you can see the average is based on 1981 through 2010. The average is for this time of the year, August 19th. So there's going to be a fairly large storm that is going to be approaching the Midwest, and it's going to eventually get off and drive itself off into Canada. But before that, it produces quite a bit of rain and cool temperatures behind it. So if you look at this, you can see the systems right here pulling up quite a bit of warm air, not too much, a little bit warm air in front of it, but mainly a lot of cool air in the back of it. You can see that this is not necessarily cold. It's August, so this is probably going to be 70s, 80s. But again, if this wasn't for this storm, it could be in the 90s or even hundreds in those areas. So this storm is definitely going to bring in much needed rain and cool weather. So you can see a lot cooler air is left behind in the wake of this system. But again, eventually this cool air or cool temperatures they can't just survive there for much longer, so they basically dissipate and disappear while the warm regime takes over for much of the northern part of the United States. I would say the north central parts of the United States, if that makes any sense. The northwest may be a little bit cooler for the next couple of days, while the southeast and the west and the southeast and the east coast and even the Midwest and upper plains will be in warm temperatures. However, then you could see later on towards September, there could be a cooler fall September blast. That could definitely be a video that we will talk about. Again, that probably might actually bring some frost areas to, say, northern Minnesota. I will be making a video soon actually on when to expect your first frost, so stay tuned for that. But you can see fairly warm temperatures. If we're talking for the next 8 to 14 days, I would say that it's very warm for much of the country, as you could see depicted here by NOAA's 8 to 14 day outlook. Northwest will be below average, while I would say 80 to 85% of the country is above average. And you can see even some parts in Michigan, the Midwest into the Northeast basically are going to be much above average in terms of temperatures. I mean, you could see that they have probability of 80% chance of being above average. And these long-term forecasts aren't necessarily always 100% in terms of accuracy, but if they're 80% confident, that rarely happens. That means that you could definitely expect some 90s here in late August for these areas. And if you're wondering where does it go from 8 to 14, this goes from August 27th through September 2nd. So some cooler temperatures, but then later on it could be followed by some did I just say cooler? I meant to say warmer temperatures, then followed by some cooler temperatures. Now let's go back to the precip map, which basically shows you at what time and what place and what's going to be falling from the sky. So you can see, let's go back to hour 6. This is the storm I was talking about. It is now on the radar. If you look, there's a fairly large area of real estate. It is very well developed for a summer storm, even though it's very well developed for a summer storm. It looks more like a fall to winter storm. It's going to be very strong. You can see right there the characteristic of that inflow and then the outflow out here, that cooler air spinning counterclockwise. It's going to be bringing that moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico, some severe weather, maybe north and west of it, and then it's just a huge rain shield right behind it. So this is definitely going to produce quite a bit of rain. You can see this thing's fairly strong, 993. This is typical of a winter or late fall storm, but it's midsummer or late summer. So this definitely doesn't add up, but that's sometimes how storms look like. If it's cold enough, then these storms can take on some characteristics of some fall storms. And later on, you can see a high pressure for later much of the week, the later part of the work week. A high pressure takes place for much of the eastern half of the country, drives everything around it. However, then eventually a low pressure system does eventually drive this one out. But another thing I want to talk about, guys, or just show you, is look at this snow right here. I know it's fairly early, but places in Canada, northern Canada, already are seeing accumulating snow. So this eventually will keep going further south and south before it reaches the United States of America, but that won't happen until probably October or November. I'm not saying that you may not expect snow till October. You probably will see some snow in October, but depends on where you live, because if you live in the UP of Peninsula of Michigan or the Arrowhead of Minnesota, you may be expecting some snow within the next 2-3 months. However, if you live somewhere in Indiana, New York City, Washington D.C., Ohio, any of those states/cities, then you're safe for the next 2 months. But it's just something cool to point out, that winter is definitely approaching, obviously, but it's still far away. So let's focus on what we have now. We have another little system tracking by. You can see producing some rain, and it doesn't seem to be a system that is as well organized as that one system that we're gonna have in the next couple of hours. You can see again some snow in the Cascades Mountains out here in the British Columbia. Another couple of snow showers developing. So some cooler temperatures in the upper elevations of the mountains are definitely there, and that will sustain some snow. But again, nothing significant that is not even worthy to talk about. So in terms of total accumulated precip, let's look. 384 hours, not a ton, but again, I think quite a bit above average compared to the regular for August and September. August and September typically aren't the most rainiest months of the season or the year. Typically, I think it's usually the winter months or spring, and you can still see quite a substantial amount of rain. You can see up there 14 inches. I don't think there will be that much rain, but this map doesn't really show exactly, say, don't make your plans based off this map. Say if you live in central Missouri and looking at this map, it only shows maybe 1.5 inches of rain. Oh, you may be wondering, it's some dry weather. Well, not necessarily, because if you get 2 storms lining up, one isolated storm can pop out of nowhere, whether it's a sunny day predicted or not, and it could produce some heavy rainfall, and that could definitely lead your totals from 1.5 inch to maybe 2.5 or 3.5. So this map just generally shows you that if you're seeing the purple colors, then you're expecting some above average precip. If you're not, then I think you're just going to be below or around average. This area right here, I don't think that's going to happen. Don't start freaking out, Minneapolis. You're not going to experience flooding. This map that generally isn't too good in terms of isolation of the thunderstorms. Now I'd like to show you the NAM 12K, which is a more detailed version of the it's not more detailed version of the GFS. It shows a more detailed version rather than the GFS. And you can see here's the storm. This is a huge shield of rain that is happening across the country. There could be some severe storms along these lines here, could be developing along these fronts with these systems. However, it doesn't look to be a huge severe weather outbreak, but definitely a few isolated severe thunderstorms could be possible. And you can see that passes through, and eventually the mid to late week does seem to be a fairly nice week for much of the country. So that is it for the precip, and I'd also like to show you the 2-meter temperatures just shaded, if you're wondering what the actual temperatures are going to be, not the actual just anomalies, because I just showed you the anomalies. If you want to know what the actual temperatures are going to be, you could see fairly cool actually for much of the country, but that is going to soon change, as I showed on the 8 to 14 day outlook. You could see a lot of places already reaching into the 40s at the nights, out in the west, in Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming. All those areas could be seeing their first frost within the next month. And you can see there's the system. If you look right here, perfect, that's the center, that's the rain shield, that's the cold front, that's the warm front up there. Very nice, well organized system for a summer storm. And then you can see some cooler temperatures do sneak down here. Definitely nights into the 50s are possible, but you can see that the NAM doesn't go out too far. Let's quickly switch to the GFS. Again, some cooler nights, some cooler days will be showing, but then quickly they warm up. You could see 80s, 70s, 90s, like I showed. Like I said, that it is going to be fairly warm for much of the country after the storm system passes. The storm system is going to be the main contributor to a wet and cooler start of the work week. So you can see right here, very warm. This is abnormally warm for much of August. This is abnormally warm for August, and you could just see this might actually be concernful for a heat wave. 96, 97, 90, just basically 90s into hundreds for much of the southeast. So this is definitely looking like a fairly warm start to fall, and meteorologically fall starts September 4th. So that is basically it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Please consider liking the video. And as always, see you guys in the next episode.